Leaked data from Mercedes' 2026 engine has rivals in panic, filing protests to the FIA and questioning whether the reigning champions are bending or breaking the new technical rules. This isn't just a technical debate. The alleged loophole could give Mercedes a massive power advantage, potentially translating to tenths of a second per lap, enough to decide championships before the season even begins. The controversy centers around a thermal expansion loophole that Mercedes may be exploiting. On the surface, the engine passes all static tests, but insiders suggest it delivers 18:1 compression on track while showing only 16:1 in the garage. What other secrets could the team be hiding? Later in the video, we'll dive into the leaked specifications, FIA's indecision, and the silent tension brewing across the paddock, showing why this single technical trick could reshape the 2026 championship before anyone even takes a green flag. The Formula One paddock is in a state of high alert following the leak of Mercedes' 2026 engine data, and tensions have escalated to unprecedented levels. Rivals from multiple teams have formally submitted protests to the FIA, challenging whether the reigning champions are exploiting a technical loophole. Sources close to the matter suggest that while Mercedes insists their engine is fully compliant, the leaked specifications indicate a potential gray area that could provide a significant on-track advantage. The paddock is watching closely, aware that this isn't just a technical argument, it could set the tone for the entire 2026 championship. At the heart of the controversy is a complex thermal expansion mechanism. Mercedes' design reportedly allows the engine to operate at an effective compression ratio far higher under track conditions than during static bench testing. While official compliance figures show a maximum ratio within the legal limits, internal analyses from rival teams suggest that dynamic operation could push performance well beyond those limits. This has triggered a flurry of concern across the grid, as even minor advantages in engine efficiency or output can translate to significant lap time gains at circuits where margins are measured in thousandths of a second. The FIA has acknowledged receiving the formal complaints but has remained tight-lipped about any immediate investigation or potential sanctions. Historically, the governing body tends to approach such disputes with caution, especially when dealing with leading manufacturers. However, insiders warn that the combination of leaked data, public scrutiny, and repeated protests creates a pressure cooker situation. Any decision or delay could have dramatic political and competitive repercussions, leaving teams and drivers on edge while the championship's opening races approach. Mercedes, for their part, has maintained a position of calm. Statements from technical directors emphasize compliance with current regulations, asserting that their 2026 power unit adheres to the letter of the law. Yet the leak has exposed not only detailed specifications but also patterns of operation that rivals claim are deliberately designed to maximize performance while evading conventional detection. Analysts argue that this duality, compliance in theory, advantage in practice, creates one of the most intriguing regulatory debates in modern Formula One history. The ripple effects extend far beyond engine specifications. Teams are reportedly reassessing their own power unit strategies, consulting engineers and aerodynamicists to determine whether they can close the gap before preseason testing concludes. Rivals fear that if Mercedes retains this hidden advantage unchecked, the championship could be effectively decided in the first few races. This has intensified intra-team pressure, forcing technical directors to explore radical solutions and contingency strategies to remain competitive against a potentially superior power unit. The leaked data has also sparked debate among media and analysts. Some argue that Mercedes' innovation could be within the spirit of the rules, highlighting the historical precedent of exploiting marginal gains in F1. Others warn that this represents a dangerous escalation, blurring the line between legal ingenuity and rule circumvention. The combination of technical sophistication, strategic secrecy, and competitive pressure has made this one of the most captivating stories of the preseason, with every paddock insider speculating about how the FIA will respond and whether any team can effectively challenge the Silver Arrows. Finally, the broader implications of this controversy extend beyond just Mercedes and their rivals. If the FIA's investigation finds any breach or even fails to clarify the legality of the design, future engine regulations and compliance testing methods could be fundamentally altered. Teams may need to adjust not only their 2026 designs but also their long-term R&D strategies, affecting development cycles, budgets, and technical partnerships. The leaked engine data has created a situation where uncertainty dominates the paddock, raising questions about competitive balance, regulatory oversight, and the very definition of fair play in the sport's next era. The leaked Mercedes engine data sent shockwaves through rival teams, revealing specifications that could indicate a subtle exploitation of the new 2026 regulations. Sources suggest that the engine's thermal management system allows it to run at a significantly higher effective compression ratio on track than during standard FIA testing, giving it a potential power advantage without technically violating rules. Teams such as Red Bull, Ferrari, and Aston Martin immediately raised concerns, arguing that while Mercedes may be within the letter of the regulations, the spirit of the rules could be compromised. The paddock buzzed with speculation, as engineers dissected the leaked diagrams and technical notes, trying to understand the full extent of the potential advantage. The controversy revolves around the so-called thermal expansion loophole, which may allow the engine components to expand under operating conditions, increasing efficiency and output beyond what static inspections would reveal. Rivals argue that this could translate into lap time gains on circuits where engine performance is critical, particularly at high-speed tracks where every tenth of a second counts. Engineers and team principals began analyzing not only the data itself but the methodologies Mercedes might have used to validate the design, raising questions about whether the advantage is repeatable or conditional on specific operating parameters. Immediate reactions in the paddock were mixed, creating a tense atmosphere. Some teams believed the data suggested an intentional gray area exploitation, while others speculated it might simply be a brilliant but legal engineering innovation. The FIA was inundated with formal inquiries and informal questions, creating uncertainty that extended well beyond Mercedes. The very fact that teams felt compelled to protest indicates that the leak was not only technically significant but strategically disruptive, forcing rivals to rethink preseason testing and development priorities in real time. The leaked information also revealed subtle design choices in Mercedes' 2026 power unit, including revised energy recovery systems and cooling strategies that are difficult to detect without detailed telemetry. Sources suggest that these innovations could give Mercedes a consistent advantage in both qualifying trim and race pace, especially in circuits with heavy energy demands. Rivals have reportedly begun conducting reverse engineering assessments to evaluate whether their own power units could match or counteract these potential gains, highlighting how a single leak can create a cascade of strategic adjustments across the entire grid. The human element added further tension. Team principals, engineers, and performance directors had to navigate the uncertainty without compromising focus for the upcoming preseason tests. Internal communications reportedly intensified, with multiple contingency plans discussed to counter a potential Mercedes advantage. The psychological pressure of knowing a competitor may already be operating above perceived limits created a palpable edge in garages across the paddock, turning what would normally be routine preparations into a high-stakes strategic chess game. Additionally, the leak raised questions about FIA enforcement and rule interpretation. Historically, the governing body has faced criticism for slow responses to technical disputes, and the current situation places them in a particularly delicate position. Any public clarification or ruling could either validate Mercedes' approach or trigger wider scrutiny across all teams, potentially forcing design revisions before the season starts. The uncertainty itself serves as leverage, as rivals cannot fully commit to strategies without understanding the legal framework that governs the new engines. Finally, the broader implications extend beyond just Mercedes and their competitors. If the FIA rules in favor of Mercedes or fails to take decisive action, it could set a precedent for the 2026 regulations, influencing future engine designs and innovation strategies. Teams may be incentivized to explore other regulatory gray areas, raising the overall complexity and tension within Formula One. The leaked engine data thus represents more than a technical curiosity. It is a potential catalyst for a season defined by uncertainty, strategy, and unprecedented tension before a single lap is even completed. The key twist in this unfolding controversy is that the leaked Mercedes engine data may not simply represent a technical anomaly, it signals a potential strategic reshaping of the entire 2026 grid. Rival teams, already on edge, are forced to react not only to the engineering details but to the psychological pressure created by uncertainty. The leak suggests that Mercedes could operate at a level above competitors without ever formally breaking the rules, creating a dual reality where other teams must prepare for worst-case scenarios while remaining compliant. This introduces a tension that is as much mental as it is technical, fundamentally altering how teams approach testing, setup, and development. The leak also exposes vulnerabilities in the FIA's regulatory framework. While the governing body has confirmed receipt of protests, its lack of immediate enforcement or clarification fuels speculation that Mercedes may be exploiting the boundaries of the rules deliberately. Historically, the FIA has struggled to enforce nuanced technical regulations quickly, and the current scenario highlights a similar pattern. Teams are left guessing. Should they focus on developing their own solutions, or should they wait for a ruling that might reset the entire preseason strategy? This uncertainty alone becomes a tool of indirect advantage for Mercedes. From a competitive standpoint, the leak has the potential to reshape strategic alliances and intra-paddock interactions. Teams with limited development resources may reconsider collaboration with certain partners, anticipating the need to catch up with Mercedes' apparent edge. The leak has created a dynamic where perception influences decision-making almost as much as raw data does. Rivals must navigate not only the technical reality but also the psychological ripple effect, managing morale, expectations, and communication internally, while externally appearing poised and competitive. The technical implications are layered. Mercedes' potential thermal expansion trick, if fully functional, could offer advantages in qualifying, race pace, and energy deployment. The leaked details suggest that the engine could maintain higher effective compression ratios during track conditions than static testing allows, a discrepancy that rivals struggle to replicate without risking non-compliance. For teams like Red Bull and Ferrari, this means every design iteration, every simulation, and every track test must account for a moving target and opponent whose advantage exists in both the seen and unseen parameters of the engine. Furthermore, the psychological pressure on Mercedes rivals cannot be overstated. The knowledge that a competitor may already hold a performance edge forces teams into defensive planning, potentially diverting resources away from innovation to protection. Engineers and strategists are now challenged to anticipate Mercedes' performance, reconfigure testing priorities, and develop contingency plans all before the season begins. The leak transforms a technical dispute into a strategic chess match, where every decision is weighed against uncertain data and potential FIA rulings. The FIA's response or lack thereof adds another layer of intrigue. Their silence on whether the engine's operation fully complies with regulations has created a vacuum of authority, leaving teams to interpret legality and assess risk individually. This not only heightens tension within garages but also raises questions about governance, transparency, and consistency in Formula One. Every race, test, and development decision now carries the added weight of regulatory ambiguity, and teams must act with caution, knowing that any misstep could have both competitive and legal consequences. Finally, the broader narrative emerging from this leak is that the 2026 championship may be defined as much by intelligence, strategy, and timing as by engineering excellence. Mercedes' potential edge, combined with the uncertainty surrounding FIA enforcement, forces rivals to confront a reality where performance is influenced by unseen variables and calculated risks. The leaked engine data is more than a technical revelation. It is a catalyst for a tense preseason atmosphere that could shape the trajectory of the championship, dictate team behavior, and redefine competitive advantage before a single lap is completed. The paddock is bracing, knowing that the drama has only just begun.